Hi guys, it's me back with another video. For today's video, I thought I would do a 3 looks, 1 palette with the Ace Beaute Flair Palette. So I just got this. They had a like Valentine's Day sale that's been going on for the past couple weeks. I think it's over now, but they do sales like pretty regularly. And so all of their palettes were 15% off, and then you could use like a code to get an extra 20% off. Is that what it was? Everything was already discount 15. Maybe it was another 15% off with the code that they had. So I got the Flair palette, and I also got all 4 of their Paradise Collection palettes. So if you guys want to see a video on these, definitely let me know. I'd be more than happy to do that. Maybe like a look with each of the palette or like a review or something. But today we're focusing on the Flair palette. So this is what it looks like on the inside. It's a gorgeous palette, like super stunning. I'm loving all the colors. And I think what I like most about the palette is like the way it's organized. Because while you can do it obviously like in rows, and then also you can do like good color combinations in like the columns, there are also like little quads that you can make with kind of each of the sections, and all of the colors still work together, which is very unusual for palettes. Because nowadays, if you have like these like more colorful palettes, they're kind of just everywhere, and the shades aren't necessarily organized in a usable way. Sometimes you have to like rework your mind and try to make it usable. But this one's kind of pre-set out for you, which I love. So we'll go ahead and get started with the first look. I'm going to prime my eyes with the Revolution Conceal and Define in the shade C1. And you're gonna notice that this is not my color. I only use this for like priming my eyes for like eyeshadow looks and things like that. And I'm looking for this brush. I'm just going to pat that on my eye, and I'm going to blend it in with the BH Cosmetics 130 brush. I believe this brush comes in like an eye set or something like that. Or maybe this may be a concealer brush, or maybe it's a face set, but it comes in one of their like sets. So I'm just going to use that to kind of pat this concealer out. So for the first look I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna go for a quad look. And I'm thinking about either this quad here or this quad here. I think we'll do this quad here, so I'm going to try and stick to kind of, I mean, I'll obviously maybe dip into other shades, but we're going to go with Firefly, Atlantis, Forest Pine, and Pumpkin. So we're going to stick to that kind of orange and blue color scheme. So I'm going to start with this kind of mint green from the Morphe 35B palette. My one issue with this kind of Ace Beaute palette is that there's no like lighter kind of green or blue color, like teal color to kind of like diffuse out some of these darker ones. So I do think they should fix that, but I think otherwise like it's a really good palette. Oh, and I'm blending that out with the Morphe M518. I'm going to take a Morphe R35 and I'm going to dip that into Atlantis. We're just going to do this a little bit tighter than we did that kind of mint shade. Don't want this going too high into the crease. I should be using a smaller brush for this. I should definitely be using a smaller brush, so I'm going to instead dip into a Royal & Langnickel eyeshadow brush, still with Atlantis though. Just kind of help that blend in when we go back into that brush that we use with the mint shade, and just make sure all of that's kind of coming together. Okay. Next, I'm going to dip into, I'm going to take a Morphe M506 brush and dip into Forest Pine. That's this really dark shade here. And we're just going to kind of limit that to even tighter. We're going to drop that in the outer V, and also just ever so slightly through the crease. I don't want this to be anything like too heavy, but I just want it to deepen up everything just a smidge. And I'm going to go back into that Royal & Langnickel brush to blend this out. And now we are going to cut the crease. Go back with that M506 and just kind of diffuse the edge of the cut crease. I feel like I'm blocking everything with this mirror. Next, I'm going to dip into Firefly. It's that bright shimmery orange. I'm gonna take that on this e.l.f. Professional eyeshadow brush. Okay. So we're just going to pat. Ooh, okay, hello. This is strange. I'm not sure I like the formula of their shimmers. It's giving me like, it's doing very weird things. Maybe it's just the type of brush I'm using. I might just go on with my finger. Honestly, that. Oh, hello. Ooh, okay, so now I'm thinking that if I wet it, it might have worked better. But with my finger, that went on fabulously. The only issue now is how do I get the edges of the crease, cut crease, which we'll figure out. Oh, that's doing some weird stuff. That's so weird. I don't know what's happening with this. It's like making the skin on my eyeball up. So I'm gonna take it on. This is an e.l.f. smudge brush. Yeah, the shimmers, I mean, I'm not gonna say that about all the shimmers because I haven't tested them all yet, but this one at least is definitely kind of strange. You want to like dense brush. It seems like it's like a very like kind of flaky, like it's like too loosely packed, which is interesting. I mean, it works. As you can see, we got it on, so I mean, no harm, no foul, but it definitely takes some like working with to get it how you want it to be. And I'm just going to quickly go in with that Royal & Langnickel brush and the shade Atlantis just to kind of marry these two together. Okay. So I'm going to dip into this orange shade called Pumpkin. I'm taking that on a Morphe R41 brush. Okay, we're just gonna run this underneath. Okay, I like that. Okay, 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 okay. I like that. That was such an impulsive decision that I like just expected it to go horribly wrong, because why wouldn't it? Yeah. I'm just gonna diffuse this out kind of far. I'm gonna quickly do the other eye off camera, then I'll come back to show you how I finish up this look. Okay, I've gone ahead and finished off the other eye, so I'm just gonna finish off the rest of the look, and then we'll move on, I guess. So for eyeliner on the top line, I'm gonna take Colourpop, the cream gel liner in the shade Fast Lane. It's a like dark green, tealy kind of shade that matches the look we're going for. So I figured that would be the best option here. And I'm not gonna do like a wing or anything. I'm just gonna do like a solid line across. Oh, and I'm doing this with a Sephora angled liner 22 brush. The texture of this shimmer shade is so weird. Like, I just don't understand it. But anyway, it's like chunky, which is the weirdest thing. So then for the bottom lash line, I'm gonna line that with just a black liner. This particular one is the L'Oreal Silkissime liner. And I want to kind of concentrate that more on the outer edge than I do the inner. Alright. Then I'm just going to finish it off with, I'm going to finish the eyes off with the mascara. So I have the L'Oreal Voluminous Carbon Black Mascara. Okay, so for blush, I'm going to take, this is the Juvia's Place Saharan Blush Volume 1. And I'm going to take this orange shade Toby and use it as my blush for today. And then highlighter. I'm gonna take the Ofra Cosmetics highlighter in the shade Bali. I'm gonna take that on. This is a Morphe M501 brush. And these are very pigmented, so you only need a little. Oh my God, this little hair in the back of my head is going to kill me. I'm just going to pop that right in the inner corner. All right, and the final touch of this look is going to be lips. So I'm going to take the Colourpop lip liner in Taurus. I'm just going to use that to line my lips. Okay, and then I'm going to take the shade Fuel from Urban Decay. All right, and that is the completed look for look 1. All right, so now we're gonna move on to look 2. Okay, so I just kind of quickly did the other eye off camera just so that I know what I was going into. So like I said, we started off by taking Cider on a Morphe E27 brush and just running that along the top. And I know that I said I wanted to go with like the red and the purple in the palette, but because this was giving me such like a funky yellow vibe, I just kind of ran with that. And as you can see, went like with like a kind of like green tone thing here. So I'm first going in with the Morphe M518 brush, and I'm dipping that into Moss, which is this green shade here. And we're just going to put this on both the inner and outer corners of the eye, starting with the outer corner. We're just kind of trying to get that foundation laid for this halo eye. And we'll go back in with that E27 brush, no extra product, just to kind of blend out those edges. Okay, then we're gonna go in with a Sigma E38. This is their diffuse crease brush. And we're gonna dip into Acorn, which is this brown shade here. And we're just gonna dab that on the inner and outer corner just to deepen up both of those. We don't want this like going in too far into the crease or anything. We just want to deepen up those corners. Okay, and we're just gonna blend that out. Back with that Morphe M518 brush. me that color and make sure we're still holding tight to that moss shade. Okay, then I'm gonna go in with a Real Techniques base shadow brush, and I'm gonna dip into Sherbet, which is this kind of lime green shade here. And we're just gonna pack that into the center of the lid. Now I am so impressed with this shade. I was expecting it to be kind of sheer and like to not really stand out. And honestly, when I put it on this eye, I was mostly doing it with the expectation that I have to go on top of it with something else. But that is not the case. This shade definitely stands on its own, and it's got great pigmentation. It is kind of powdery and there's some kickback in the pan, but nothing that like would keep me from using it. And can we talk and with the color like as vibrant as that, like it's definitely worth a little bit of kind of powderiness. And then we're just gonna kind of go back and forth between that shade and our acorn and moss concoction, just so we can get a nice kind of gradient going here. And you'll just be going kind of back and forth until you get it how you want it to be. Does anyone else ever feel like when they do halo eyes, like they're never even on both sides? Because I feel like that every single time I do one. I think it could just be that my eyes are uneven as well, but okay, so that will do our top. Then for the bottom lash line, I'm gonna take, this is a Morphe brush. It doesn't have a number, but it's from a set. It's like, so they're like the white and rose gold set, and it comes in a brush, like a rose gold brush case. This is from that set. It's just a really small kind of pencil brush. And so I'm gonna take a concoction of moss and acorn and just run that along my lower lash line. I'm gonna lightly clean the brush off just in like my Veramona color switch, and then I'm going to dip into Cider, so that very first shade we used, and I'm gonna just use that to kind of diffuse this like brown and green concoction we got going on here. So basically exactly what we did on the top. All right. Okay, so for liner, I'm gonna go with a brown liner. This is the Juvia's Place liner. I think it comes in like a duo. You get a black one and a brown one. This is the brown one. This is the Sephora Pointed Liner 92 brush. I'm just gonna trace that along. Top line. All right, and I'm also going to just stamp that into the waterline on my bottom lash line. And for blush, I'm going into the Balm in Stain. I don't have a brush. Of course I don't. Okay, this is the Balm in Stain blush in the shade Toil. It's just like a nice coral shade. I'm going to take that with a Morphe brush, a stippling brush from that same rose gold set that I mentioned earlier. I'm taking a stippling brush because I want this to be kind of a more soft, diffused look as opposed to like a kind of full-on blush, like hard blush. And I find that using a stippling brush kind of helps achieve that look. Alright, and for highlighter, I'm going to do two. So I'm going to start with the Balm. This is the Betty Luminizer. I'm going to take that. This is on a Echo Tools fan brush. Just want to... I decided to use this one first because it's a softer highlight, so it's not going to be like as much of like an intense sparkle, more than it is just like a nice kind of inner glow. All right. And then to offer me a bit of a funner color and then a bit more intensity, we're going to go in with the Bitter Lace Beauty highlighter. This is in the shade, hold on, I have to take it out of its casing. This is in the shade Royalty. And I'm going to take that on a Morphe M501 brush. And I'm just going to put this on the very high points of the face. And then we'll finish off this look with lips. So I'm gonna go for like a super nude. Where's my lip liner? Okay, it's in there. So I'm going for kind of a super nude lip to go along with this very dark, sultry eye look we've got going on. So I'm going to take the Colourpop liner in the shade K. This is, I believe, from the Karuchi collection. Then we're going to go in with the Milani, Milani lipstick in the shade Bahama Beige. As you can tell, this is one I get a lot of use out of. This is probably one of my favorite nudes. Alrighty, and that is going to finish off this look. This is look 2 of 3 for the Flair palette. So let's go ahead and move on to look number 3. So our third and final look is going to be this kind of red and purple eye look. For this one, I did have to dip into the Paradise Fallen palette, also by Ace Beaute, just for a little, like it's some more darkening shades. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started. So first things first, I'm going to go into the shade Mulberry, which is here on this Wet n Wild brush, and that's just going to be our transition shade. Then I'm going to pop into an Anastasia Beverly Hills A10 brush, and I'm going to take Saffron, this red shade here, and put that a little lower. I'm just going to slowly build that up till we get the intensity we're looking for. I'm just going to buff out those edges with that Wet n Wild brush. Okay, then we're going to dip into the shade Aubergine, which is this purple there. And I'm going to do that with a Morphe R37 brush. And once again, we're just going to keep that a little bit lower than that red. Going back in with that Anastasia brush, no extra product, just blending those together. I'm going to dip into the Paradise Fallen palette. So I'm going to dip into this shade here called Dusk. Just another layer of deepening. I'm going to take that with a Morphe M411 brush. Now I'm going to go into Shadow, which is this dark one. Same M411. I'm just going to go back and forth with all the previous ones just to get that blend. Then I'm going to take Mirage with the Morphe R42. For eyeliner, we're going to do just a black liner with a wing. This is the Maybelline Eye Studio Gel Liner in Blackest Black. Okay, then for the waterline, I'm going to take the NYX Faux Blacks liner in Ox Blood. Then I'm going to double up on mascara. I'm going to start with the Benefit Roller Lash. Then I'm going to go on top of that with the L'Oreal Carbon Black Mascara. For blush, I'm going to go in the Colourpop Super Shock Cheek in the shade New Lows. It's like a burgundy kind of shade. I'm going to take that with the e.l.f. Small Stipple Brush. And for highlighter, we're going to do the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in Gold Deposit. Looks like that. I'm going to take that on a fan brush. Alright, and finally for lips, we're going to take the Colourpop Ultra Matte Lip in the shade Avenue. Alright, and there you have the finished look. Hope you enjoyed, and now we'll move on to our wrap. Alright, so I'm going to give you my final thoughts on the Flair palette. I think it's a really great palette. The mattes are buttery and smooth. They can be a little powdery at times, certain ones like this green down here. But I think overall, they're really great. They blend incredibly, especially into each other. So the mattes definitely, and they pack a lot of pigment in them as well. So the mattes are A+ in this. As you would have saw, I used, only two of the shimmers actually. I used Firefly and Mirage. Mirage went on beautifully. It was really great, really smooth, and a nice kind of foil to it. Firefly here was a little more chunky, a little harder to work with. It wasn't really great at sticking to the eye. I think just from like looking at it, it looks like the other two shimmers in the palette, Bayberry and Biscotti, look like they're the same formula as Mirage. Let me just swatch and verify. So we'll swatch them. There. So yeah, those seem to be the same formula as Mirage, so you shouldn't have any issues with those. But overall, I think this is a really great palette. I definitely recommend it if you were looking for something in these kind of color spectrums. This is definitely one to pick up. My only two drawbacks on this is that I think they could have a lighter matte blue and a darker of these like red and purple berry shades. I think that would make it a more complete palette, so you wouldn't even have to venture outside of this palette for anything at all. So those are my only two issues that I think they could fix or that they should have done instead. But outside of that, I think this is a great palette. I highly recommend it to anyone looking for it. And if you're curious about kind of the Ace Beaute line, this and their Paradise palettes are all fantastic quality. So they get 2 thumbs up for me. Okay, you couldn't see the other thumb. They get 2 thumbs up for me, and I'll definitely be looking out and purchasing more from this brand in the future. But thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought about the 3 looks that I did down below. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. Go ahead and like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to see more. And thanks for watching. Bye!